Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Awakened, and if you're watching the show, welcome to the brand new AGA Network Studio A.
Oh man,
the first episode here.
This is so cool.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of hard work and a lot of teammates that came to pull this together. And first episode in the new Studio A, and we've got other ones coming online. But man, so exciting to be doing the show.
Yeah, we've been saying for a couple months now, I think, we're working on a studio. Here it is. We're here.
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
So there's still, we still have a lot of work to do behind the scenes, obviously. So bear with us today as we have, just some different technology set up and everything. But for all intents and purposes, this thing is ready to rock and roll, and we're doing this thing. This is awesome.
Yeah, just amazing. Again, a shout out to the team. Many of them we won't ever see on camera, but right. But that are in the house and that are working on making this place a really awesome place to be. Yeah.
So if you're just listening to the podcast to the show today, it'd be worth your time. Go check it out on AGA TV. Go to AGA.network. Check it out on Rumble. We might throw a couple clips here and there on YouTube. There's definitely topics today that we're not putting on YouTube. So like usual. Check out the show. The studio looks awesome. And things are really moving.
Yeah.
Things are really moving. What else? So make sure you're following us on Facebook and Getter. We already mentioned Rumble. Yes. Definitely join our Locals community, our AGA Network community on Locals. Go to supportaga.com and you can join our Locals community there where we post news stories throughout the week. Try to stay a little more in touch with everybody since at the moment we're only doing the show once a week, but there's news happening every day.
Every day.
So we're trying to stay up on it there. So make sure you're following us on local, supportaga.com. And lastly, make sure if you want to become an AGA Network insider, text the word AGA to 330-619-4497. That is AGA to 330-619-4497 to become an AGA insider today. All right. Well, I think we kind of talked about the show, what we wanted to do this week, and I think we kind of agreed, right? The theme of the show, we wanted it to be focused more on what's happening at home while all the mainstream media outlets and everybody you listen to anywhere, TikTok, social media influencers are telling you, let's just all focus on Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The whole world were experts on coronavirus, and now they're all experts on world relations and war overseas. I think that there's so much going on at home that if we take our focus off of what's happening here in the States, we're praying for them and we want this thing to be done. But if we take our focus off of what's going on here, as you're going to find out through the show, there's a lot that's been sneaking under the radar here in the U.S. that's been passed and that has been talked about that is not being covered by any of the news, but significantly affects every single life.
The State of the Union address was a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
And President Biden made a very, I'm going to call it an insincere attempt at uniting the people, if you guys remember that. But he's also the one who previously told the entire country that everything about COVID was strictly the fault of those who refused to take the vaccines.
Right.
And those vaccines had the 1,291 recorded side effects before they were ever mandated. So I don't know, take that for what it's worth. But here's a clip of President Biden in the State of the Union address.
Let's use this moment to reset. So stop looking at COVID as a partisan dividing line. See it for what it is, a god-awful disease. Let's stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other for who we are, fellow Americans.
Okay, so I know she looked real thrilled.
That was inspiring.
Yeah, right.
Right out of her seat.
So let's stop looking at each other as enemies. Blah, 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 blah. What was he saying all year long? Here
we have the tools to combat COVID-19, and a distinct minority of Americans, supported by a distinct minority of elected officials, are keeping us from turning the corner. These pandemic politics, as I refer to, are making people sick, causing unvaccinated people to die. It continues to be a pandemic of the unvaccinated. So we got to make more progress. Look, the only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated. We have a pandemic because of the unvaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, you're not nearly as smart as I thought you were.
So I mean, just out of his mouth right there for you guys all to hear. Don't take our word for it.
And then his partner in crime said, "Don't start talking like a Republican."
Yeah,
remember that?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, those clips could go on and on and on and on. As every time he got in front of a camera, it was pandemic of the unvaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, you're the reason COVID's going around. People are dying. Blah 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 blah.
But let's all come together because that's what the talking point said that would get him votes. Mm-hmm. I mean, the State of the Union is just a political sideshow, circus act. And that the writers of the actual speech were looking at the polling numbers of COVID, and they knew that accusing, like he did all throughout the 2 years, year, was not going to get them the votes they need in November. And so they just changed it to say, let's all come together.
Yep. That's exactly what happened. And I don't know how many people are buying it, but just share those clips with your friends if they think, oh, well, now he's saying, we all need to come together. Yeah, it's not what he's been saying all year. So let's, this next few clips are very interesting. We're seeing more and more people on the left, people who are absolutely not conservative. These people couldn't get Joe Biden into office fast enough, but we're seeing more of these people stepping back and asking these kind of questions that, hey, we've been asking all along.
Yeah.
So have you guys been following the Kyrie Irving situation in the NBA?
Brooklyn I read Nets? One article.
Okay.
But
Nate, are you familiar?
I heard about it this
More
morning.
than what we kind of talked about it. I don't know. A few episodes ago, we talked about unvaccinated players in sports in different cities,
right.
Blah, blah, blah. And Kyrie is one of the examples. But I'm going to just play this clip from the Trevor Noah show, which on Comedy Central, he's not conservative at all. But it's fun to hear these people now go, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense.
Restrictions are being lifted so quickly that things are getting a little confusing, Like, for example, right here in New York City, Mayor Eric Adams has lifted the rule that you have to be vaccinated to attend indoor events. That's gone. But there is still a rule that you have to be vaccinated to go to your workplace. So if someone's job is at an indoor event, they can't go to work, but they can show up to work to watch their colleagues do their thing. Yeah, which is exactly what happened this weekend.
A big matchup at Barclays Center with the Nets taking on the Knicks, but Kyrie Irving, who's ineligible to play in the city for failing to comply with the vaccine mandate for city workers, he might have stolen the show. He attended the game as a fan and watched his Nets win from the sidelines. He paid for a ticket, just like a regular person.
Yeah, guys, I don't care, how COVID compliant you are. Like, this makes zero sense. Can we agree on that? What? So Kyrie can go inside, not wear a mask, even hug a teammate, but he cannot play. I don't get it. Why? Does the ball have a weak immune system? What's going on? I mean, it's crazy. Just think about it. Kyrie can't play, but he can sit in the stands, right? Like a fan. And then as a fan, what happens if he gets picked to take the half-court shot to win the car? Can he do that? What are those rules? How does it work?
What are those rules? How does it work?
They can't explain it.
Is this not crazy though? And now you're seeing people that would support this stuff all year long before now. All of a sudden they're saying, now, hey, hang on a second, because they're seeing it with their own eyes. Kyrie Irving cannot go play for the Brooklyn Nets in New York because he's not vaccinated, because that's where he's employed. But he can go to the same game, sit on the bench. Basically, he's right courtside, so he's right next to the teammates, hugging teammates.
Yeah.
But he's not allowed to play?
Yep.
It's mind-boggling.
Well, it's mind-boggling, and it's fun to watch these guys' heads explode too.
Yeah.
I'm glad they finally had their brain blast moment.
Yeah, it took long enough. So here's just another clip. This is Kyrie Irving's teammate, Kevin Durant. He's also very confused by this.
Everybody out here looking for attention, and that's what I feel like the mayor wants right now, some attention, But he'll figure it out soon. He better. But it just didn't make any sense. Like, there's unvaxxed people in this building already. We got a guy who can come into the building. I guess, are they fearing our safety? I don't get it. So, yeah, we're all confused. Pretty much everybody in the world is confused at this point. Early on in the season, people didn't understand what was going on, but now it just looks stupid. So hopefully, Eric, you got to figure this out.
You got to figure this out.
Calling them out.
At this point, it just looks stupid.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've been saying that for a long time, but whatever. You think now it looks stupid? Whatever. You're there. You got there finally.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think millions of people have gotten there.
Yeah.
I mean, millions of people have gotten there. You know, I was listening to a show this morning, and the host was saying, you know, how much longer would the American people have not gone to work, stayed inside their house? No, there was about ready to be pitchforks. Like it was about ready to come unglued. And that's why they did what they did. And I think that we're seeing that here in, you know, these liberals that are finally coming to the understanding. The American people aren't going to stand for this. And if you want to play that game, he'll buy a ticket and come and steal the show and put it back on you.
Yeah. It's a perfect example right there of why their polling numbers are so bad with all of this, because you have people who were supportive of all these COVID restrictions and supportive of these mandates and blah, blah, blah all year long. All of a sudden now you hear them, now they're coming out and speaking and saying, wait, this doesn't make any sense.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's becoming a just a common sense nightmare. Right?
Yeah.
Like everybody, they believe that you don't have any common sense. And so they assault that. And then whenever people actually get off of their anesthesia and come down to common sense, then they've realized, oh no, we overplayed our hand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Oh, fun stuff. Well, hey guys, before we move on, we would like to thank our new sponsor of this show, MyPillow. All right. As many of you listening and watching know, Mike Lindell, the creator of the MyPillow, has been the victim of countless cancel campaigns from the radical left. And despite the nastiness that he's been through, Mike continues to stand and fight for your rights and your freedoms as an American. And he just happens to make some really incredible products too, like the Giza Dream bed sheets, the My Slippers, the bat towel sets, dog beds, and of course the classic MyPillows. If you head over to MyPillow.com, use promo code AGA when you order a classic MyPillow today. Mike's Classic MyPillows are the best pillows you can get. I've had one for about 2 years now, and it's just as supportive as it was the day I got it. You fluff it once when you go to sleep, and then you lay your head down, and you wake up. It's exactly the way it was when you went to bed. It's absolutely incredible. The pillows are made with Mike's patented interlocking fill. So like I said, fluff that thing one time, you're good to go all night long. Classic MyPillows, they're also machine washable. They come with a 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee to make sure you really love it. And best of all, it's made right here in the USA. I know that's important for everybody.
Yes.
Okay, so for listeners of this show and for the listeners of the AGA Network in large, you can get a standard size MyPillow for $19.98, regular price was $69.98, queen size $29.98, regular price $79.98. Or if you need a king, get that sucker for $34.98, regular price $89.98. All you got to do is head over to MyPillow.com, use promo code AGA when you order a classic MyPillow today, or you can call 800-565-8573. That's promo code AGA online, or call 800-565-8573 to order your classic MyPillow today. Thank you to everybody listening, and thanks to MyPillow.
You know, one of the things I really love about their website is when you're trying to figure out the size and the style.
Yep.
It's really easy. You just go to the chart, select what color you are, and just makes it pretty simple.
It does. I mean, just go check out the website, like Rob said, but they got a chart. You kind of assess based on I think it's like your shirt size and whether you're a man or woman, kind of basically they're trying to, I think it says how heavy is your head, because that determines how much interlocking fill you get in that pillow to keep you supported. So that's important. Check that out. They're really nice pillows, I'll tell you guys.
Yeah. And you know, the class act of the organization itself, when we had our conversations with them, just how they're standing for freedom.
Yep.
And there is a bonus, I believe, that you get Mike's book when you order as well.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, check for that when you go.
Man, good deal. Good deal. So check out MyPillow, guys. Okay, so back to more COVID restrictions still being imposed by the elites upon the American people, and more importantly, still continuing to be pushed on our children. This story, I don't know if you guys saw this before, but this one just kind of made my stomach turn. So I said, fake Republican senator from Utah, Mitt Romney, in a room full of maskless legislators, voted to keep the federal mask mandates for toddlers as young as 2 years old in the Head Start program. So I've got a 2-year-old nephew right now. That kid won't even keep his pants on. I don't know how you're gonna get these kids to keep a mask on their face.
Yeah,
they don't want to. They don't understand. Okay, it's gonna drive me nuts. But to make it even more difficult, this mask mandate is for toddlers who have developmental disabilities, and that makes them even more unlikely to wear it, if that's even possible.
Right.
Not to mention, it's not even safe for them to be wearing masks in the first place. We've learned all this year.
But they haven't.
They haven't, or they just don't want to care.
True. Yeah. True. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll shout out Republican Senator Mike Braun from Indiana. He's the one who introduced the amendment to the Prevent Pandemics Act designed to, quote, prevent HHS from implementing or enforcing their regulations regarding mask or vaccination protections in the Head Start program again. So the amendment failed, and it's important to note that Mitt Romney voted to sentence these helpless children to wearing masks when the president and the CDC just announced that masks are pretty much no longer necessary.
Yeah, out of touch. Yep. And, you know, the old statement, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We're seeing the ramifications of absolute power. I mean, it's just complete corruption, top to bottom. Top to bottom.
Absolutely. We just showed clips of Kyrie Irving, you know, and other people at the basketball game. No masks. They don't have to wear masks.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to wear a mask when you go to the store or any of that stuff anymore, especially in these, you know, very liberal areas, New York, California. Like, it's all dropping. But yet kids, 2-year-olds in this Head Start program still have to wear masks. Why?
Conditioning.
Yeah.
Condition them to do what the government says all the time, and taking the rights away from the parents to actually parent their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. But we do have to give a shout out to another senator who has been standing against this propaganda machine. But I mean, it is becoming obvious to everyone what is going on, and yet not obvious to the people in Washington what the American people really want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh, like, yeah.
What do we want? Well, we want X, and they're doing Y, and they don't care.
Yeah.
But this is supposed to be a representative republic, which means when you go from Ohio or wherever you are to Washington, D.C., you do not vote your conscience. You do not vote what your lobbyists are telling you to vote. You vote what your constituents are telling you to vote.
Yeah, that's a strange thought, right? I mean, I guess that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, yeah. So you're elected to go there, and all your people are saying, we don't want masks, we don't want masks, we don't want masks, and you go vote for masks.
Mm-hmm.
There's money somewhere.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
There's some kind of money under the table that you're taking, which means you should be sitting on your butt in a chair at home in your state, not doing anything to represent people because you have no... Never mind, I'll stop. I'll stop.
That was awesome.
Sorry,
all right.
I'm about ready to explode.
Good catch.
I'm about ready to explode because
I know
you're called to represent your people. You're not called to represent. Listen, you can go right and left. When you're elected, you're not called to go represent the NRA on the right.
Mm-hmm.
You're not called to go represent the LGBTQ+. That's not what you're called. You're called to represent the people of your district. Well, in this case, senator would be your 2 of you in every state.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me that a majority of people in the state are saying that they want masks for their Head Start people, the kids.
No, there's no way. And so let's just flip these next 2 stories then, because I think everything you just said leads right into the disconnect, not being connected or even close to being in line with your constituents, your voters, what people actually want from your state.
Yeah. You cannot take this story any other way other than blatant disregard for your people. So we live in the great state of Ohio, the Buckeye State, the heart of it all. Everything starts here. I don't know what others. We're the bellwether state of elections. It's great. Ohio's awesome. But our governor just passed, Mike DeWine just passed the constitutional carry bill.
Yep.
So in his campaigning to be the governor, he went around to a bunch of conservative gun groups and said, listen, if there's a constitutional carry bill that would ever land on my desk, I'll sign it. Although in the years after being elected to be the governor of the state of Ohio, he has made many decisions in which he limited gun rights for individuals in Ohio. So to me, it seems a little weird that he went and campaigned on that to get elected. And then all throughout his tenure as the governor, he has made many actions and rules that limited the viability of carrying weapons. Okay, so that's just one underlying thing. So he gets this, signs the bill this week. Now there is you don't have to take a test to conceal carry in Ohio, all of that stuff. Meanwhile, the same day that he signs in Columbus, Ohio, he signs this bill, the same exact day. Rob Portman, the senator from Ohio, is in Washington, D.C., and he votes on this bill, which is the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2022. As with all these federal bills, don't get caught up in the name of it. Equality Act had nothing to do with equality. Infrastructure was all about giving money to other pet projects. It wasn't about infrastructure. And like all bills, there are other provisions tucked inside of it, which also drives me crazy. Because if we're voting on a gun rights bill, then gun rights should be the only thing in it.
Only thing.
Not the bridge that's 17 miles long, you know? Like that, it shouldn't even be in the same thing, but that's how they tuck it all together and try to snow the American people. And to be honest, it works. It works because the American people aren't up in arms. But with this bill, I actually pulled this bill up and I read as much as I could read of the bill.
Okay.
And it's all complete nonsense. I understand what they're trying to do, but all the stuff that's added into it is crazy. But anyway, this one has anti-gun provisions that Republicans vowed must be removed before they would vote for the bill. So there's anti-gun provisions in the bill. Republicans in the debate of this bill in Washington said, we are not going to pass this bill unless those are removed. And what did they do? The same day that Ohio, and I'm going to get on Portman here in a second, but the same day that Ohio passed a concealed carry, constitutional carry law that says you don't need to have a test, you don't have to have the class, you can just carry. You don't even have to notify police that you're carrying. Now that would be stupid, but
right.
But you don't have to legally. And that bill passes. This bill passes, which prevents that same thing. So tell me, Rob Portman and a bunch of other yahoos on this list, Republicans, voted and went against what they said in the actual hearing to say we're not going to vote for this if these provisions are in the bill, and they all voted for it. And I want to read the list.
Read it.
Because I think they're all going against their states. Look at the states.
Yeah, because not everybody listening is from Ohio. You got people from your state most likely on this list.
Yeah, so if you're not from Ohio, here are the other Republicans who voted for increased government control of weapons. That's Barrasso, Republican of Wyoming; Blunt, Republican Missouri; Capito, Republican West Virginia; Collins, Republican Maine; Cornyn, Republican Texas; Ernst, Republican Iowa; Graham, Republican South Carolina; Grassley, Republican Iowa; Hyde-Smith, Republican Mississippi; McConnell, Republican Kentucky; Moran, Republican Kansas; Murkowski, Republican Alaska; Portman, our buddy Republican from Ohio; Shelby, Republican Alabama; Thune, Republican South Dakota; Tuberville, Republican Alabama; Wicker, Republican Mississippi; and Young, Republican Indiana. So if these are your people and your state actually values gun rights, then this is a problem.
Big problem.
Now, the bill states, so you're restricted from getting a firearm if, and I'm trying to break it all down as close as I can, but if you're restricted to get a firearm if you've been convicted of abuse and you're married to the person. So like if you're accused of and convicted of abusing someone, you can't get a firearm. So this extends it, that there doesn't even have to be a relationship. It's called the boyfriend loophole or whatever. So I understand what they're trying to do. The problem is this should not be in a bill entitled the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2022. Most of the stuff inside this bill has nothing to do with violence against women. It has a lot to do with, there's stuff in there about COVID. There's stuff in there about all different kinds of things. But to go back to the main point of my story is this part of the story is that Ohio voted in the most unbelievable numbers to pass a constitutional carry bill, to get it to the governor's desk, and he signed it, whether he wanted to or he just did it for re-election. That's his conscience. But the same day, Rob Portman supports restrictions on gun laws.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we can't just have the Second Amendment.
I know.
Like, they're making laws to any law that goes and tries to restrict the Second Amendment that's what they're doing. I mean, you can say that you want a constitutional carry bill in Ohio. That's still beneath the Second Amendment.
Correct.
We've restricted something out of the Second Amendment to get that bill passed.
Yeah.
And that just frustrates me. We have a document. It's lasted us a couple hundred years among the assault of all the liberal nonsense. And yet we have to make a law now to say you can constitutionally carry in Ohio. We've been an open carry state forever. I mean, I see people in the store all the time with a gun on their hip. Yep. It's all over the place. Now, of course, you can't incite a riot and do anything like that. But in Ohio, you can open carry. Now they're changing the rules so you don't have to take the test. Now, personally, I want you to take the test.
Yeah,
if you're going to carry.
Absolutely.
I want you to know how to actually handle a firearm. But I just, the disconnect between the state and the federal government is so blatantly obvious in this one scenario.
And big time. Yeah.
And it happens all over.
Yeah. When you sent that to me the other day, it was interesting because I had just finished having conversations with people actually about the constitutional carry and all that. And then you sent that over and said, hey, look what Portman just voted for. It's like, wait, Ohio just said we're going to be a constitutional carry, and then Ohio senators voting to restrict gun rights. What?
Yeah.
Like, did somebody not memo him in on, hey, this just passed, so maybe you ought to, I don't know.
Let's just go back to representing the people that elected you to go.
Yeah.
And I understand. I was elected. I get it. I understand. A lot of times you don't hear what the people want. But that's your job. Like 90% of your job is not fundraising to get reelected, although that's what 90% of them do. 90% of your job should be to find out what's going on at home and take that conviction and that desire to Washington and say, this is what I'm standing for.
Well, I mean, the same day his state just voted, what was it, 23-8?
Yeah.
Vote?
Yes.
In favor of constitutional carry. I would say that's the majority. I don't know. I mean, I'm just an idiot who, I don't know. Math is okay, but it seems like a larger number to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that we can read what the bill says. I mean, you have it in here all concise, but
it's all right.
But I think that we can put it in the show notes, but I just, why are we allowing people to represent us or not represent us and not being in an uproar about this? I don't understand that.
Yeah. And, just as a side conversation real quick, I was having some of those discussions over the weekend about the constitutional carry with some people, and some people were all for it. Some people were not so in favor of it. Whether you are or you're not, the example that got brought up is you have to get a license and a permit to drive a car. And then somebody else said, the Constitution doesn't say you have a right to drive a car. Okay, that's the only argument I needed. The Constitution says everybody has the right to carry. Whether you support the bill or not, or the constitutional carry, doesn't matter. The Constitution says it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And your opinion of that doesn't matter.
Correct. If you treat the Constitution like a fact, doesn't matter if you. Yeah, it is.
I mean, Washington doesn't see it that way. They want to trash it and burn it and all that stuff. But it is a fact that the reason why it's in there is to protect us from our government.
Yep. Which I think we see why.
Exactly, because they don't represent us.
No. Okay, but there is somebody who is representing, or at least seems to be trying to represent the people in his state.
Yeah.
Democrat Senator Joe Manchin.
Yeah. Man, he's looking more like a Republican every day.
Yeah. See, and that goes back to the conversation we've had multiple times on this show of, it's really Democrat, Republican, they're just labels.
Yeah.
They're really just labels. I mean, half the Republicans don't believe what you believe if you're a Republican. And the Democrats in Washington, they don't believe what you believe if you're a Democrat, most likely sitting at home right now. It doesn't matter anymore.
I truly believe that the majority of people, whether Republican or Democrat, they don't represent you, and they're further left than you'll ever be.
Yeah.
No matter if you're a liberal Democrat, the Democrats in Washington are more liberal than you are.
Yep. Yeah, and a lot of the Republicans are more left than you are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
he is standing, and he's making a lot of waves. I pray for him.
Yes, for sure.
Because the onslaught of evil trying to take him out, I'm sure, is nasty.
Yeah, but so the most recent thing here is he opposed Sarah Raskin's nomination for the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. So Sarah Raskin would have been the Fed's top banking regulator. And the main fears behind Raskin were her climate change alarmist views, which would mean that banks would most likely no longer be giving loans to oil and gas companies. Kind of goes back to those ESG credit scoring systems that we've been talking about.
Yeah, and she came right out and said that, I mean, her stance is ESG is the only way we're going. I mean, she's the ESG candidate.
Okay. I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah, she's the ESG candidate for this position. So if you don't want an ESG score to determine whether you get a loan or anything like that, she would be the one that would make sure that you had to have one.
And obviously there's a large oil and gas, what I want to say, component to the economy in Manchin State.
Yeah. Well, he can't. If he's doing what he's supposed to be doing,
correct,
he cannot vote for her.
Yep.
Because it will kill his state. And it will kill the economy of West Virginia. And so he's doing what elected officials are supposed to be doing. And we hold him up, and I'm all for him in what he's doing to represent his state. But we hold him up as this great thing. But really, this is what all of them should be doing. Like, all 500 representatives should be doing this. All 100 senators should be doing this. You know, like, we should be touting everybody as they're standing for their state. And so he's getting ridiculed because he's doing what his state deserves and not what the left ideologues in Washington want him to do, which is awesome.
Yeah, it is. But like you said, it's awesome, but it's only awesome because it's what he should be doing in the first place.
Right.
And compared to everybody else who's not,
he stands out like a sore thumb.
Sure he does, yeah.
Because he's actually doing what he's called to do, like what you're elected to do. And I don't agree with everything he does, but I do agree that he's representing his people to the best of his ability.
And that's all we can ask for out of these people. I mean, we send you there to do just that.
Yep. Yeah. It's amazing. But I love the comment you put in the notes here about they're climate alarmists, but they still fly in their private jets.
Yeah, and they build their new mansions on secluded islands despite the rising sea levels. Whatever, you know what do we know? Yeah. What do we know? You know, you got to stop the carbon emissions, but I'm just going to get on my private jet, fly out to my island, you know, that won't be there in 10 years because the world's going to flood, whatever. Yeah.
Just buy a Tesla. It'll be fine.
Yeah, just buy an electric car. I don't know where you're going to plug it in, but just get one.
Yeah, crazy.
Climate change is not... Yeah, we'll get into that some other time.
Yeah. Well, I think we have to hit, and Nate, you sent over an article about this, but we really are at war, not in the regular sense of the word, but I think we are at war with the dollar. I believe that there's an attack on the dollar. We see India, we see Saudi Arabia, China, Russia now, all trying to go off the petrodollar, and those billions of dollars are going to start flooding back into the U.S. And you think that you've seen to this point inflation. We're talking hyperinflation.
Yeah.
And then with rising costs, we're actually talking about stagflation.
Yep.
Because the economy's not growing. So anyway, you can hit that story.
Yeah. So the Wall Street Journal reported this week that Saudi and Chinese officials are in talks to price some of the Gulf nations' oil sales in the Chinese, is it yuan, whatever, rather than dollars or euros. So here's a quick clip before we talk any more about this. This has been going around Twitter and TikTok, but I watched it. I was like, okay, that kind of explains the importance of the petrodollar and why losing it would be pretty devastating to our economy here in America.
Everything that you've been told is wrong.
Everything's about oil.
Everything's about oil.
Literally.
Everything's about the dollar. And it puts Lindsey Grahamnesty's comment the other day, whenever he got caught off guard about killing Putin. You know, he said we need to go assassinate him. You just look at that story and you see why he would say that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he didn't say somebody needs to go over. I mean, he's like it's going to happen. Like, and if you look at the history of it, it looks like it's happened before.
Everybody's got taken out.
Right.
That's tried. That's crazy.
Yeah. Didn't know that.
No, I didn't either till I saw it. I was like, oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
But what he said about, if we lose the petrodollar, or, if oil's no longer traded in U.S. dollars, our lives are going to completely change.
Worse
Everybody.
than the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go back to a wheelbarrow of $100 for a loaf of bread because all that money's got to come back.
Yes.
And I think what we're looking at is the confidence of the dollar. They're talking about world reserve currencies. They're talking about, digital currencies, and we've talked about all that stuff. I think it really comes down to the confidence in the dollar. If the world loses confidence in the dollar, we're sunk. And we're seeing it happen. Now, what does that mean for the U.S.? I think it means hyperinflation. I think it means everything that we've talked about in the past. But I think it also, on top of all of that, brings an understanding of the sobering of a nation because we've maybe overvalued things. And if any of that stuff was 100% accurate, then we've got a lot to answer for.
Yeah, and whether that stuff is accurate or not, I think that the importance of oil to America has been completely undermined. Mm-hmm. It's been kind of skirted over as we'll just move everything to electric, and without really people understanding just how much depends on oil and gas.
Yeah. And last show we talked about what comes from a barrel of oil.
Yeah.
Everything comes from a barrel of oil. Now, we haven't shut down production. We're still one of the largest people producing oil. The question that I have is looking back through administrations, whether we went into that country and took out their leader so that we could keep it petrodollar, whatever. One of the things about our last president that was so powerful in this discussion is we need to be self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
If we were self-sufficient, the petrodollar will hurt, no question. Like if we lose that, it's going to hurt. But if we're not buying oil from over there,
yeah. Well, I mean, wouldn't it just strengthen the idea of the petrodollar too if we were producing all that, because now we're not just relying on other people we're not just supplying ourselves with oil, but we are a huge producer and exporter of oil.
Which is why on day one, the Biden administration shot all those things down because they want to do away with the petrodollar. They want to be in control.
Yeah.
Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. They want to be in control, and they want to ruin not just them. I think it's the global elite. That's the Great Reset. They want to do away with all the powers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that my personal opinion about Putin is he doesn't want the Great Reset either.
It doesn't seem like it.
He wants his own kingdom.
Yeah.
And so I think that he's sort of stalling it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much stuff that is circling there, but he needs to. I don't think he wants a Great Reset. I think he wants
his own version
where he's in control.
Yep.
And I think China does too.
Yep.
So whether they partner together or not, what remains to be seen. But I think that right now we don't have a leader in America.
Yeah.
We have a follower. We have a reactionary government.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a leader who was, what was it? Bill Maher this week did an interview and he said something about why his question was in the interview, why did Putin not do this under Trump?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's because there was leadership. And he was proactively saying, don't step out of line.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And now we're reactionary leaders, or we're reactionary followers in America under the new administration, and we're just reacting to everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're way behind.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the key. I think Putin is doing what he thinks he has to do to secure his status.
You guys seen the video, the clip of when, I don't remember what the situation was, but Trump was with Putin and they shook hands.
I was just thinking about that.
The first thing Trump did, he grabs his hand and he pulled him in.
Yep.
And it was just that slight signal of strength of, we're not going to mess around here.
Yep.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you see the Zoom call with Biden and Putin sitting back.
Yep.
looking at the screen.
Yeah.
But then you see a Zoom call with him and President Trump, and he was like
up at the table, attentive.
Yeah. But then that one with Biden was like, he was leaning back in his chair, and that was during the interview.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be interesting to talk to somebody who's an expert in body language.
Yeah.
Just compare those two and tell me what is going on in this situation. No words being said, just the body language. What is that?
Mm-hmm. For sure. So they are, Saudi Arabia and other countries are trying to move away from the petrodollar, and that's happening as we speak. And
Correct.
so we need to keep an eye on this story because, like I said, we're a nation right now being led by followers.
Yep. The one piece out of this, it was a Blaze article I was reading. The one piece I really want to hit is around 80% of global oil sales are transacted in dollars.
Wow.
So if that's not happening anymore, like you said, Rob, that's 80% of oil sales that are coming back to the United States in
It's a lot of $100 bills.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting also in the article it mentions about Saudi officials are reportedly uncomfortable with the Biden administration's ham-fisted withdrawal from Afghanistan. And we already saw Trump say this is why Putin did what he did. The world was watching that day.
Oh, yeah.
And all of the consequences from that one day. It's going to be years till we uncover everything that's happened because of that.
Well, billions of dollars of equipment. I don't know how many there were. Was it 13 or 16 killed?
13.
13.
Yeah.
13 killed, left there. Reminds me of Benghazi.
Yep.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I asked my tax guy about writing off all that equipment that we gave to the the Taliban, and he was
billions.
Like, he's like, there's really nothing we can put on there. I'm like, oh man, I was really hoping I wouldn't have to. Whatever. That'd have been a good chunk. Okay, so these last couple stories to hit on here today. It's just interesting to think about and we'll use the word, how evil are the people that are running our country?
It's becoming more evident every day that they are.
How evil and how, and we've talked about it, how much are they conditioning us to, like you've said before, Nate, denounce Christ?
That's it.
Without really agreeing to it or realizing we're agreeing to it. They're conditioning us to agree to it.
Yep.
So let me make a statement right now that if I had said this even just a couple years ago, you guys watching would have just turned off the show, said those three guys are kooks or I don't know what they're talking about, but here we go. USA Today just named a man as one of their Women of the Year. Okay.
Yeah.
So a dude is now a Woman of the Year, according to USA Today. Rachel Levine, who is a man, I can't emphasize this enough.
Yep.
He was appointed by Joe Biden to be the Assistant Secretary for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. He also became, listen to these words, the first female 4-star officer of the U.S. Public Health Service Commission's Corps. So here, he'll tell you himself.
I am honored to serve as the first female 4-star officer of the U.S. Public Health Service Commissioned Corps.
Wow.
One more time, because
I am honored to serve as the first female.
No, you're not.
I'm sure his credentials are just amazing.
I remember whenever he was appointed and definitely not competent enough to handle the job he was given.
Right.
But it was just because he's transgender.
Poster child.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know what? We're seeing it with Fauci. Once they're done with you, they'll throw you away.
Yep.
So
Very interesting.
This actually goes along with their line of thinking, but sooner or later he's going to be old news.
Yep.
Yeah, so
you can't take the 4 stars back.
Yeah. There's a couple other things in there you can't get back. Oh man, I just thought that was interesting. So I heard, I don't have the cut, but I heard Candace Owens last night was on with Tucker Carlson, and he was asking her about how she felt having a guy be now, one of the Women of the Year. And I don't know if you guys listen to Candace at all, but I love her. She snappy.
Definitely just tells it how it is.
Yep. Not afraid to speak her mind. And boy, did she.
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing it in the schools. We're seeing it in the colleges, the swimmers, all that. I mean, this is their agenda. This is what they want.
It is. And it's a complete undermining of women across the board. Women's sports, women in business. I mean, everything that, women's rights has ever worked for. Mm-hmm. It's, it's just, you just go back and you think about all the women's rights and everything that they've done, that they fought for to try to have, equal standing with men. And now we're letting men call themselves women.
Yeah. It's insanity.
It is crazy.
And it's evil.
It is.
It's evil.
It is, because it's being pushed on the kids.
Yeah.
So
at the youngest of ages.
At the youngest. So we wanted to kind of roll back a little bit to last week. We brought up the Parental Rights in Education bill.
Yep.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yep.
In Florida. That Governor Ron DeSantis just signed into law. It's gotten a lot of opposition. You've probably heard it called the Don't Say Gay bill.
Right.
Which we played, DeSantis really tearing apart a reporter who said that, because in no way, shape, or form does that bill say you can't say gay. It has nothing to do with that.
No. It actually gives the power back to the parents, which is where it should be.
Yep. So here's a clip of Dave Rubin on Newsmax kind of discussing this bill.
Just very quickly on this gay thing. I know we're going to talk about it extensively. But, I fled California because of this nonsense, came here to Florida, and now it's happening here.
It's not happening here.
I'm going to have to do the underground bunker thing, right? That's where this all ends up.
Well, it does. It's not happening here because of our governor, and you have, level-headed conservatives in Florida. And all this bill says, I know you've read it before, I think it's 7 pages long, but no one, I don't think any one of those Democratic senators who got up there to protest it, they cannot have, they must be just going along with this groupthink from the left. It's bad because Governor DeSantis is proposing it. It's bad because it puts parents in front of teachers' unions and teachers. It's not bad because what they claim is not actually in the bill.
No, and this is what the media and the Democrats do with absolutely everything. Like, if you just don't have enough evidence over the last couple of years, how they blow up basically nothingness into being some sort of bigoted, hateful, homophobic, transphobic, racist, blah, blah, blah. The bill, in essence, says that parents should be able to know what's going on with their children's education. And if the children are struggling or whatever it might be, that the school can't hide that information. I mean, really think about it, John. Every single person watching this either has a young child or a niece or a nephew or knows a young kid. This is for kids that are kindergarten to third grade. Why would you want a state employee talking to a second grader about gender identity or sexuality? First off, kids of that age are not thinking about this at all. I was just at my 7-year-old niece's birthday party making, they make this silly string now, this goo that the kids are all making now. This is like the hot thing. That's what we did on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes, that's what 7-year-olds should be doing.
These kids are not thinking about these things. Why would you want not only a state educator to be able to talk to kids about it at that age, but then hide that conversation from the parents? The word gay is not in the bill. I have covered it extensively on my show. Yeah. I mean, in essence, this is basically about transparency, which of course we should have. Parents should know what's going on at school. That's not a radical position. That's not a hateful position or a bigoted position.
So I guess my question is, if it takes a law to stop you from having conversations in the classroom about sex with 5-year-olds, should you be a teacher?
I would say no way in heck.
They have to pass a law in Florida to say that you can't talk about sex with a 5-year-old, and they're up in arms about it.
Yep. Yeah. When you really break it down to that level and just say that, it's really frightening.
They are angry that you're saying you can't talk about sex with 5-year-olds. That's what they're angry about.
Yeah.
Because they're grooming them. I'm being strong.
Oh, yeah.
They're grooming them to believe what their public, as he said, public elected or public hired employee will tell them about sex. And this bill says, no, we're not going to talk about sex, number one. And number two, the parent needs to be involved in this conversation.
Yep.
Now, they just said from pre-K to 3. I think it should be a lot more than that, but that's what the bill is for. And they're up in arms about that because we have a bunch of sick people who are grooming kids to believe what they believe about all these topics.
Yep. Yeah, because if you think about it, so we were talking before the show, like 6th grade, that was kind of like sex education time when those, you learn about the birds and the bees and the reproductive system and things like that, biological things that are provable, things that are factual. When you start talking to kids, I don't care if it's 6th grade, high school, kindergarten, it doesn't matter. When you start talking to kids about gender ideology, now you're putting ideology, you're putting opinion on them. You're not putting anything based in fact whatsoever, because there is no fact that supports that. You can't tell a little boy, well, you can be a girl if you feel like a girl. That you're lying to that kid. You're straight up lying, because he cannot be a girl.
Yeah. So I go back to the fact that if you have to pass a law to convince or to restrict a teacher from teaching that, they should not be in the classroom.
Correct. Not at all. I forget who was saying it, but I agreed 100%. A lot of this gender ideology, the transgenderism, all this nonsense, the LGBTQ stuff, it's really intended to just confuse people and break people. So you hear about the suicide rates and the depression, anxiety, and everything in these people who struggle with, I think I'm a girl, I think I'm a guy, I don't know, I'm one of the 27 genders, I took testosterone, whatever. And it makes a group of people who are easily controllable. And you are easily controllable when you are broken, and you are more likely to be dependent on somebody on a higher level, say the government, for instance, when you are a broken person.
Right. So they have to pass a law to actually say that the parent has the right to determine what can be done in the classroom. That tells me that what's being done in the classroom is anti-parent.
Absolutely.
So if what's being done in the classroom is anti-parent, then why are we even sending kids to public schools that allow this to happen?
I think you're going to see a shift.
I think we are. I think we're going to see a big shift. And, you can pass a law that says pre-K to 3rd grade, but I mean, this is an ideology that is not stopping after 3rd grade. It's getting more intense. You can talk about what you found on the news the other day, Revolver, but I mean, it's happening more intensely.
Yeah, it was just, I don't have it pulled up, but you can look it up. It's a Kentucky based in the hills of Kentucky. 4 women got together and wanted to create it's like a conference, 3-4 days, something like that. And they're teaching toddlers about masturbation and about sexual wellness, even drug use.
And it wasn't being reported. Now it is. Now it's being talked about. And I think that this bill in Florida, I thank Florida for doing this.
Yeah.
But that's one state. This is happening everywhere.
Yeah, but again, it kind of goes back to the same thing we talked about with the senators in Washington. Like, you're putting Florida up on a pedestal saying, hey, look, they're passing this legislation. Well, they shouldn't have to.
Right. Yeah,
exactly. Just like you put Manchin up and say, hey, look, he's actually representing his people. You shouldn't have to say that. It should just be a given. That's what you're supposed to do.
If I was talking about sex to a 5-year-old at Walmart, I would be arrested. Why is it any different in the school?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. But they have to pass a law to say you can't.
Yeah. It's common sense.
We're in a dangerous situation with our kids. Yes. I think if there's anything you take away from just this episode at all, just take that away. Like, you need to know what's going on with your kids. You need to be involved. You need to know what's going on in school. Mm-hmm. And that, again, we've said this before. COVID was actually a blessing in disguise in that regard, because it brought school into the living room, and then parents overheard what was being taught and said that's how critical race theory came to the front. And everybody found out about that. Otherwise, we might have never known on a large scale that was happening the way it was.
Right. And we have a Department of Education in Washington, D.C. that is not constitutional. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do. We shouldn't even have a Department of Education. And it's all done to promote this ideology.
Yeah. Because I don't have the reports or anything, like we said, like pulled up, but I know that there's a deficiency in children's reading levels and mm-hmm. They're learning and stuff right now in the country. And I mean, when you're going to school, why are you, these kids aren't going to be able to read or write or do math or understand science or anything like that, but they'll be confused as all get out about sex at 5 years old going,
And going back to what you said, that's their goal, because a weak person looks to the government for answers. So if they can get millions of kids to be confused about their gender identity, to be confused about how to read, what are they going to do? They're going to be slaves to the government forever.
Absolutely.
And these are, they're just straight up doctrines of demons.
Yeah.
That's just what this is.
Yeah. Yeah. And the church has to wake up.
Oh, yeah.
The church has to wake up.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Wow. That's a topic right there that'll get you fired up real quick.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's kids. It's kids. Mm-hmm. The next generation, and their plot is to go after them.
Yeah.
Every day. 8 hours a day sitting in a classroom. Hey, and I'm all for not escaping the public school system and taking your witness in there. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great thing. Mm-hmm. I still support that today. But there's coming a time when either you're going to have to make a choice. I mean, these things being taught to 5-year-olds, as a parent, you got to make a choice. And you got to find thank goodness there's open enrollment and you can vouchers and all that. You can get your kid to a public school that actually believes good stuff, and won't teach this stuff. But the mass majority, I think, is the other critical race theory, Common Core, all that stuff. It's just to degrade. And if they can get a student to doubt how they were raised, they have them.
Yep. And I'm not going to go into any detail, but I've definitely got firsthand experience with that, and it's not good. It's not good. It creates a lot of issues. But
yeah.
Okay. Well,
we need to go after this show and get some good sleep.
Sorry, guys. Go ahead.
We need to go after this show and get some good sleep on MyPillows.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We want to thank MyPillow, of course.
Yes.
For just sponsoring the show, being a supporter of the network, and just making some really great products.
Yes, and
really
if
great.
You want to join Mike Lindell and MyPillow, you can support our network. Give us a shout out, and we'll definitely have some conversations. I know we've got other ones in the wings, and if you have an organization that you want to be represented here on the AGA Network with all the different shows we have going on, come be a sponsor and be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested in the MyPillow, go to mypillow.com, promo code AGA, get you all those great discounts. Like Rob said, possibly even Mike's book.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think that's what comes with it.
So check that out. Great products in there. And like I said, I've been using MyPillows for 2 years. Well, the same MyPillow for 2 years, and it's just as good as the day I got it. I love that thing. So make sure you are following us on Locals, join our Locals community, support AGA.com, and just make sure you stay in touch with us at AGA TV at www.aga.network. That way, if we get censored anywhere else, you can go to Rumble and watch us, subscribe there. That'd be great. Give us a Rumble. Smash the Rumble button. It's the same thing as a like button, I guess, whatever. But go there, but there's no guarantee we're going to be there forever. Just because it's a free speech platform now doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. We've seen that with some other DuckDuckGo. Yeah. Too bad. I like them there for a minute, but whatever. Go to AGA TV, follow us there. We'll always be there. Anything else you guys want to touch on today?
No, it's all good, man.
Okay.
Well, first one down in the new studio.
Yeah, and plenty more to go. So make sure you guys keep checking back. We're going to keep bringing you some great content coming out of the new studios. We're so excited to be here filming and recording from here. So until we talk to you guys next week, have a great weekend and stay awake.